Hey guys, I'm Lexie Smith, a mom, multi-hyphenate entrepreneur, and the founder and CEO of the PR Bar Inc. coaching platform and agency. In my career, I've had the privilege of guiding countless brands, ingenious publicists, eager students, and ambitious entrepreneurs on their PR journeys. I've danced with the giants and nurtured startups, directed in-house PR departments, lent my expertise to boards, and spread knowledge across universities nationwide. Throughout all of this, I've seen our industry change and evolve while simultaneously proving that some timeless fundamentals remain unshaken. This show takes you behind the scenes of the world of media, marketing, and PR, aiming to teach you all the new tips, tricks, and how the best and brightest are achieving success over SIPs. Now it's time to grow. Welcome to the show. Travel writer Jordi Lippe-McGraw has visited over 55 countries, writing for top publications such as Conde Nast Traveler, Travel and Leisure, The New York Times, Departures, Architectural Digest, and Forbes, to name a few. In response to the need for better family travel gear amongst her own travels, she created PAK Rêve, a versatile travel bag line celebrated by Condé Nast Traveler for its innovative, modular design that keeps traveling parents organized and stylish. Jordi, welcome to the show. Let's kick it off with, where is home base, if you have one? And then because you've traveled so much, we have to go there next with some of your favorites.
Okay. So I am based in New York City in Manhattan. There was a brief pandemic stint in New Jersey, but we missed the city and we came back. So that's where I am now.
Okay. So we're home based in Manhattan. Now this is the, maybe this is an easy question for you. Do you have like a top, I'll say 1 to 3 places you've traveled?
So that's always a really hard question to answer because I have favorite places for a variety of reasons, as does anyone, right? So I would say, to give a simple answer to that question, one of my favorite places in the world is a place that I grew up going to, which is Long Beach Island in New Jersey. That just feels like home. So many good memories there. And I love going back there year after year in the summer. So that's sort of like, sentimental. In terms of a destination that I really enjoy going back to, cliche, but I love Paris. I could go back to Paris all the time. I actually, before jumping on this call with you, was planning my next trip to Paris in January. So that's a place that I love. I never get sick of it. I think it's beautiful. It's incredible. Then I would say, like, to pick that third destination, it's probably, it's not a place that I've gone back to often. I've gone one time, but I'd have to say Antarctica, because it just felt like the biggest adventure. It felt like a journey getting there, and I'm obsessed with penguins. So it was like penguin heaven for me. And it felt like you were really far away. It felt like an untouched place. So again, it was a favorite destination in all of those reasons, but not one that I've gone back to.
Now, was it on an assignment? Like, what were you doing? Why Antarctica?
No, that one trip wasn't on assignment. My husband and I, when we got married in 2015, had made a pact that we would go to all the continents before we had kids. And that was our last continent. So we booked the trip. You have to book it pretty far in advance. So I think we booked it about a year ahead of time. I just paid for it, saved up. And I actually got pregnant before going on the trip. So I was 5 months pregnant going to Antarctica, and we announced our pregnancy from there. Not planned that way, but that's how it happened.
Wow. I feel like every question I have is going to sound uneducated, but was it like you have to go with a tour group, or is there some sort of tourism set up there? That's probably a very dumb question. I'm assuming.
No, it's not. It's not a dumb question at all. So there's a couple, yes, you have to go with a group unless you're a scientist.
Right. Okay.
But usually there's 2 ways that you can do it. You can fly to Antarctica, but it's very expensive. the usual way that people go is by boat on like a cruise, I would say a small to mid-sized cruise ship. So you fly to Buenos Aires, Argentina, usually spend the night there. Then you take another flight south to Ushuaia, which is the most southern city in the world. And then you get on a boat for 2 days through the Drake's Passage, which are the roughest waters in the world. And then you get to the continent of Antarctica and you spend several days there. And then you got to do that whole trek back.
While pregnant.
While pregnant.
Good Lord. Okay, sorry, this is a selfish question, but favorite family friendly place you've been?
Ooh.
Abroad.
Yeah. That's a really great question. I would say the one that came to mind when you asked, I think there's a lot of great places, and I think a lot of places outside of the US are much more friendly to families. I'll say that kind of as like a blanketed statement. Portugal was really, really family friendly. Just little details, like my son was, I think 8 weeks old when we took him. So he was very much like a newborn, and and we were new parents. It's our first and only child. And we would go to restaurants and the baby would cry. We'd have to take it out of the restaurant. I'd have to feed him. And they would just like take our plate away, keep it warm, bring it back, like no questions asked. There was never that sense of like we were interrupting people's meals. We went to like a really fancy vineyard, and it just felt very welcoming to families in Portugal.
That is number one top of my bucket list. We were gonna go last month, but life gave me an opportunity to go to Korea and Japan. So we just took my 1.5-year-old to Korea and Japan, which I had heard. Sorry, everyone listening. This is whatever. I talk about travel. The drill here. But I had heard a lot of things about how family friendly both of those countries were. And I had very mixed experiences, meaning, yes, I thought a lot of it was, but we also got turned away from quite a few restaurants because they didn't want our child. Anyways, I digress. So now that's become like a new thought process of mine as a new-ish parent. It's like, where can I travel that is not going to be a nightmare?
Yeah. I mean, we had a great experience with a little one in Portugal, and we just lived in Switzerland for the summer. My son is now 5. And that was also another really super friendly, family friendly, child friendly place. There's even on like the public transportation in Zurich or all over, they have a special spot for strollers. Like it comes down, like a little ramp comes down, you can wheel it on everyone. Kids are just very much a part of life in Switzerland. So again, that had that, I feel like in a lot of Europe, it feels that way. But in those 2 places in particular, I felt very welcome. Even on like the high speed trains in Switzerland, they have a playground on the train.
No.
Yes.
That's amazing.
There's a slide. There's a whole, it's crazy.
It's a whole thing. Okay. So like I promised you, I'm going to rein it in now, and we're going to transition, although it is relevant because a lot of your career is centered around writing. But before we get around traveling, before we get there, we're going to rewind a bit, and we're going to go into what I call career cliff notes. So I've read your bio, I've looked into your background, but for those listening, talk us through kind of where you started. And I usually say a good place to start is whatever you consider like that first post-grad job, and kind of walk us to today.
So I would say my first like true long-term full-time job, I was actually a gossip reporter in New York City, which was really, really fun in my early 20s. I have to admit, I was on red carpets. I was interviewing celebrities. I was going to clubs. And I did that for 6 years full time. And again, like I said, it was really fun in my early 20s. I got to live a life in New York City that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to afford. And I got to travel a bit too. But after doing that, I would say for about 5 years, it got very tiring. I didn't like the late nights. I wanted to feel healthier. I wanted to wake up and go to the gym and all of those things. And my dad also passed away suddenly during that time, which also changes your perspective on things. And so I was having this, I know this is supposed to be a Cliff Notes version, but I was having trouble processing that grief. It takes so much energy. And so I felt like I just didn't have the energy to care about Kim Kardashian anymore. I had to care about myself and take care of myself. And what was really cathartic during that period of time was travel. I felt like every time I went on a trip, kind of got me out of that grief headspace. It allowed me to just take a break from this crazy world of entertainment. And I fell in love with traveling. And I started kind of writing about it on the side. And then over time had made a decision like, I want to do this full time. I don't want to be in an office. I want to be freelance. I want to have control over my schedule. I want to go to the gym in the middle of the day. So what I really started picturing was like what I wanted my day to look like and not necessarily what I wanted that next job to be. And over the course, I would say about a year, I just started doing little things to get me to that point. So taking on more freelance work on the side. And I was able over time to build up enough clients to make that leap to leave my full-time job and take a chance at freelance. And I did that in February of 2015. And I've been full-time freelance ever since. I took a pay cut at first, but I've been able to make more money now than I did as a full-time employee. And I obviously have, it's a hustle, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I hustle. I'm very much a working writer, but I'm able to have the flexibility that I wanted, especially once I had my son. I was able to little things like breastfeed without having to worry about being in a closet and pumping.
Yep.
And now he got sick a couple of weeks ago, and no question, I was able to be home with him. So that's, I guess, a Cliff's Notes version. So I've been doing that since February of 2015. So I've been freelance longer than I've been full-time at this point. And then I started my own accessories line, like you mentioned, PAK Rêve. So that launched in September, so 2 months ago.
Casual. I love like, oh yeah. And I also just found it wait, that was 2 months ago?
I mean, it was in the works for a couple of years,
okay.
But I just launched in September, the end of September.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how new it was. Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, first and foremost, thank you for sharing a bit about your story. And I'm really sorry to hear about your father. I'm sure he'd be very proud to know where it has led you. So, okay, here's what I want to do in terms of tackling all the many sides of who you are. I actually want to start, which turns out to be the newer side, your founder hat. So I want us to put on your founder hat a little bit here. I would imagine, however, I could be completely wrong, but I would imagine that the outlets that you write for don't necessarily allow you to just write full-on features about how awesome your own product is. Maybe they do. I don't know. Okay, yeah. Okay, that was my assumption. So I would imagine now you're in the seat where you have to go, or your company has to go out and start representing your product and your brand. I've seen that you've had some success. So I'd love to just kind of talk through, what has that process been like? Have you been pursuing press? Has it just come to you? Whatever kind of comes to mind in that vein.
So I would say, yes, it's interesting, right? Because every new product wants press, and I am also press. So no, the short answer is I cannot like write about my own products. Some outlets have allowed me, like in my little author bio, to mention it, but and there's some outlets that won't even allow other writers to write about my product. So in that way, it certainly makes it a little bit more difficult to get the press that I would otherwise, would love. But at the same time, being a journalist obviously gives me insight and access that perhaps other founders don't have. I know the editors, or know someone who knows an editor, so I can at least kind of, I don't want to say cut the line, but I'm able to, the same way you would get like a job referral, right? Like if you're applying for a job and you know someone that works at the company, you can kind of get your resume out of the slush pile. That's what I feel like I'm able to do for the outlets that are willing to cover my product. And I approach it very much like any other founder would, which is giving free products to editors to test out themselves, to judge for themselves if they're going to cover it. And I've had some who say, you know what, it's not the right fit for us after covering it. And others are like, we love it. So I'm experiencing that similar process. I may be able to just get my product more eyeballs or the proper eyeballs on it a little bit easier. So it's a mixed bag, I would say. But I think being a journalist and being on the writing side of it, I'm able, I hope, to know how to tell a story and know what journalists are looking for when it comes to coverage, which again, I think also helps me as a positive when trying to launch a brand.
Absolutely. I'm curious too, because you're a newer brand, have you felt, well, do you dabble in affiliate links, or have you felt the pressure to it all?
100%. That was one of the first things that I did when I launched was, I think within a week I was on affiliate, because a lot of outlets will not cover brands unless they are on affiliate, which is, I understand because media is struggling, but it, it's also a little bit sad. But then of course there's outlets that it doesn't matter whether or not you're on affiliate. So again, sort of a mixed bag, but yes, I am on affiliate as, again, just another opportunity to hopefully be featured like any other.
Well, that's been a popular topic, especially over the last year on this show, kind of the pros and the cons. And to your point, I understand both sides of it. I feel for the little guys where it's hard to, part with kind of some of the commission, and some of those platforms are expensive. But then to your point, as the journalist, there's the reality of it. So it's smart. And it sounds like you, to your point, had kind of the leg up in already knowing that ahead of time, where a lot of other founders might not have understood that sometimes that's what you need to do in order to get press placements these days. Now,
and I think it's important as like a tangible tip to take away is being on affiliate is probably helpful, right? Because then you are more likely, let's say, to get on a gift guide list at a top outlet, and maybe you'll get more sales from being on that list versus, but have to give up some of the profit towards the commission versus maybe getting a lot lower sales, but recouping the whole cost. So it's like sort of this balance that you have to strike. And also if it is a product, like a physical product that you're creating, having really good margins to account for that affiliate link commission that you would have to give up. Like, I think that's something that you can also be like, all right, if I'm going to have to give up, in theory, 10% for this commission, let me work that into my margins so that it's not as big of a hit.
Did you know that I send out a community newsletter roundup every Tuesday, chocked full of resources, media kit downloads, journalist contact information, event invites, visibility opportunities? Basically, if you're not on the list, hit pause and sign up. It is super simple. All you got to do is go to theprbarinc.com/newsworthy. That link is in the show notes too. Okay, back to the show. See, brilliant, because now your founder hat is on, right? A little bit there. And that's, I think, such a really phenomenal tip too. If someone who's in the early product development stage, or you're looking at repricing, knowing that if PR is going to be part of your selling strategy, to work that in. Now you're new, so I know you don't have like a year worth of data to go off of, but have you seen the press that you have landed successfully making a difference at all for your brand?
Again, it's only been 2 months, so it's really hard to
it's fresh.
give a concrete answer. And I've had influencers post, the product. Again, I would say it's hard because I don't have a ton of data, but I would say there's certainly an uptick in website traffic whenever a press article hits, but I don't think, or if an influencer posts, but I don't think it's like, and this is a misconception perhaps that I had, was that like, oh, I get in an Esquire gift guide, I'm going to have all of these sales. It's the same way it's like, I ran an Instagram ad and I'm going to get all these sales. It's just what I found so far is that's just not the case. So be prepared for that, because I was like, oh, I'm going to get in all of these gift guides. Amazing. I'm going to have all these sales. And it doesn't translate one-to-one. What I think is important is kind of having a couple of things going and hoping that everything kind of strikes at the same time and it builds on itself. So having your brand in an outlet like Condé Nast Traveler, for example, for my brand, or whatever, you know, the target kind of demo is for the product, that then is helpful for the SEO on your website, right? Because now you're legitimized by an outside source. And then if you have, and then so when people Google your brand, like for instance, for me, like now these articles where my bag was featured are coming up. So now my brand looks more legitimate if someone kind of does a quick search. So again, I think it's a longer term strategy, unless for some reason you get really lucky, and I hope you do, where your product is just, you know, knocks it out of the park in the first couple of months, which I know has happened for like, you know, a few brands that I've talked to, but usually it takes time, and it's building that recognition, it's building the authority, and that takes time. So even if you might not see those direct sales from getting in a media placement, know that it helps all of these other things. And eventually, hopefully, that mix starts to work in your favor, and, you know, you start turning that into paying customers.
Okay, this is literally like music to my ears. You're making me sound so good to anyone I've ever taught before, because yes, co-sign everything she just said. And thank you for your transparency. I do think there is a lot of expectations that have to be set when someone from a founder position pursues PR. I can say from my perspective, I've seen my favorite example I always go to. I had 2 clients on the coaching side, not the agency side, land gift guide placements in Birdie. And one was a lower price. I think it was like a $19.99 candle, and she almost sold out of inventory. The other one was a little bit higher price. She didn't get one sale. So same outlet, kind of same type of article, very different results. And so it's hard. And I think to your point, where you have to manage your own expectations is understanding the role that press plays in the holistic picture of marketing. So exactly. Thank you for sharing that. That was a brilliant overview. And I totally agree. What we're going to do now is we're going to flip on your other hat, right? We're going to go over to the writer's world. And I'd love to start with point blank, especially in freelance. What is your process like in coming up with story ideas and sourcing? So are you at a point in your career where people are just coming to you with assignments? Are you still kind of ideating on your own? What's that look like?
So at this point in my career, it's a little bit of all of those things. So I'm lucky enough to have like several contracts with places where I write a certain number of stories a month. For some of those outlets, it's like a recurring kind of column that I do every month. Some of them are, I get just a certain number of assignments and we sort of go back and forth. It's a mix of assignments. It's a mix of my ideas. And then there's also this side of freelancing that's like not as glamorous and forward facing, but I do a lot of behind the scenes work for brands or PR agencies where I'm helping to write blog posts for, you know, company websites or ghostwrite op-eds for various clients. And that, again, that's not the forward facing kind of stuff that I do, but it certainly like, you know, helps pay the bills. And then when it comes to like just true pitching and ideation, it's the same thing I do today that I did when I first started freelance. And those ideas come about in a variety of different ways. I think what's really important is to just be open to your personal experiences. If it's something that like you're thinking about or you're struggling with or you're curious about, there's probably other people that are having those similar thoughts. And so like, what's a story that you can craft around it? Are your friends asking you certain questions? Are they interested in certain things? So it's kind of like, I always keep that interviewer type hat on kind of at all times. If I see something interesting or hear something interesting, like crafting that into an idea and making sure other places haven't covered it yet. And if you have like a dream publication that you want to write for, right? Like do your due diligence, do your research. What are the types of stories they're looking for? What are the types of stories they cover? And craft your pitches around that. make sure that it's very tailored to the outlet that you're trying to pursue. And I still blindly pitch places. That's how I've gotten, several articles over the last, few months alone, is just blindly pitching a new editor. And that's kind of like how I go about coming up with story ideas. And then I guess I should say the other way is, again, having been in the industry for so long, is I get pitches from publicists.
Yeah.
Which is obviously really helpful, because then I get an insight before something opens, before something happens, access to an interesting person, a celebrity for an interview. So in that way, I also get story ideas.
On that side of the fence, do you utilize any resources like a Quoted or X/Twitter, whatever we call it now, or a press hook? Are there any tools or Facebook groups, places you go, or is it all just kind of email to email, who you know in the inbox?
I would say 99.99% is just from publicists that I know, or just getting, my name's sort of out there. So getting, inbound pitches. I don't use Quoted. I don't use Help a Reporter Out. I know lots of people who do. It's just not something that I've done. I will occasionally go on Facebook groups. There's a website group for traveling parents called Bébé Voyage. And I posted on there because I was writing a Wall Street Journal article about why you should travel with your kids if they're not going to remember. And I was able to utilize a couple of the members of the group in my article. So, I'll utilize Facebook and other places. Sometimes I'll post on Instagram, throw a question out there, or, hey, do you have a source? And I know several journalists who do that. Like, hey, does anybody know a great nutritionist that could help me with an article? Or has anyone, I'm trying to think of something I saw recently. Has anyone not allowed kids at their wedding? I'm working on a story. So I think people utilize social media, and I know a lot of editors will post on Twitter as well, or X. I don't, but I do utilize Facebook and Instagram a bit.
Okay, perfect. So let's actually continue that train of thinking and talk a little bit more about your personal preferences. So I always do a rapid fire preferential roundup of sorts when I have a member of the media on this show. So that's it. It's just, I'm going to ask a question. You tell me what you prefer. There's no right or wrong answer. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So is there a day of the week you prefer to be pitched?
Ooh, good question. I would say, I don't know if there's a particular day, but I would say Monday through Wednesday.
Monday through Wednesday. Okay. Time of day.
Oh yeah. For me, everyone's probably going to have a different answer. I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
And I would say if you're sending me an email past 2-3 o'clock, might not get looked at.
There you go. See, this is why I do this, because everyone is different.
But
right?
I think it's because I'm a mom. So my son gets home from school, I'm sort of, and I get up early. So I'm sort of ending and transitioning into mom mode for the day, where other people are understandably that still getting started or getting ramped up. Yes. So I'm much more likely to answer an email in the morning.
In the morning. Okay. And then are you pro follow-ups?
Yeah, sure. I feel like I'm tried to, as much as I can, respond back to emails, even if it's hey, thanks for sending, not a good fit for right now. So I really, really try to respond. But yeah, I think follow-ups are fine. I would say after, it's hard because I'm a freelancer. So I follow up with editors all the time. Hey, did you get my pitch? I would say 1 follow-up, 2 follow-ups is still okay. After that, I would say, let it go.
Yeah, move on. Okay, pleasantries. So do you want someone to take a few lines, or do you appreciate when they acknowledge past work, or do you want them to just get straight to the pitch?
I don't know if I have a preference with that. I guess in short, probably just get straight to the pitch. Again, I think for me, the more concise something is up top is really helpful, because again, I'm a freelancer. So I have to then turn around and bring that to an editor. So the more that you can sort of help me craft that pitch up top, what are the bullet points, knowing what I cover is going to be interesting to me. And then I actually always appreciate pulling that out up top. What are the kind of those key, nuggets that are going to be really interesting, and then placing the full press release at the bottom, because then it can grab my attention. I can see if it's something I'm interested in, and then I can kind of dive further into it. So that's how I kind of like emails structured. And also, if it's hard when I'm getting, it's tough, but when I'm getting like multiple emails from different publicists at the same agency, like if there's a way, if it's similar topics, to consolidate, that's also helpful. But I understand, like, if they cover different clients and it's, a very different topic. But if it's sort of in the same realm, to be like, hey, this is kind of what's happening at our agency, these are the kind of like quick hits of clients, that's really helpful as well.
Okay. And then let's see, are you open to social media DM pitching?
Sure. I feel like I usually send people to my email because that's where I kind of organize my thoughts, and I do keep a folder of pitches that I'm interested in, because even if it's not a fit for right now, it doesn't mean that it won't be a fit in the future. And I really do read the emails and I save them. So I would say you can message me for sure, but I'll probably say, can you send it to me in an email? Because that's just the way I organize things.
And then you mentioned Instagram earlier. Is that your preferred like social platform to interact with, or is there another one?
Yeah, I would say Instagram.
Instagram.
I'm trying TikTok, but like, I don't know.
I tried TikTok. I gave TikTok a 90-day try from the user perspective, and I failed miserably. I was stuck in 200 jail. Anyway, story for another day. Okay, phenomenal. So we're going to wrap up here we're going to tell everyone where to connect with you and where they can learn more about your product in a minute. But first, I kind of teased to you at the top of, or before we even hit record, that I was going to put you on the spot for the signature question. So here it is. We've talked Pitchin. What can we find you sipping? So what is your favorite beverage? I told you it was going to be left field, although title. So it could be alcoholic, non-alcoholic, of course.
Ugh, I'm so boring. I love water. And I know that's like such a boring.
So much. No, you would be shocked. This is the 6th season. I would say the most said beverage has been water.
Really? I mean, I love water. I sip water. I'm not a big drinker, so it's like I don't have I don't drink that much. I'm not a big fan of like juice. I mean, I guess I like coconut water, but I would say water is like what you would most find me sipping. And a funny story with that, I'm not a big drinker, but if I do, like, if I'm going to go out and like have a drink, I'll have a Manhattan. Like, I really enjoy a Manhattan. But I can't handle my liquor like at all because I don't drink. So it's usually like one cocktail. And I went out with my husband one time and I was like, heck, I'll have 2 Manhattans. What's the big deal? We're having a big pizza. I'll be fine. And I got so drunk that like the room was spinning. I threw up. And this was like a year ago, like very recently. And I must have been telling that story to somebody. And I overheard my son telling someone recently, my mommy can only have 1 Manhattan.
Stop it. First off, you're a cheap date, so that's great. And second, that is amazing. I am very curious. My daughter is now starting to say words, so I'm like, at what point do I need to be a little bit more mindful of what is coming out of my mouth?
Yeah, I think you're at 1.5 years, right? You said, I think you're still okay, but yeah, it's so funny, like what they pick up. My mommy can only have, so now it's like an ongoing joke in my family. Mommy can only have 1 Manhattan.
I freaking love that. Mine will probably be like, where's mom's bottle, aka wine? I don't know. We'll see what comes out. Okay, so two kind of questions here. Let's start with, if people want to learn more about your product, and give them a quick reminder about what it is that you made and where they can go to learn more.
Yeah. So obviously I've had the privilege of being able to travel a lot with my son. He's been to 5 different continents and 23 countries, I think. And he's 5 years old. Wow. And what I noticed was, like, when I was traveling, that I was like piecing together different bags. I wanted like a really cute, chic bag that didn't scream diaper bag, but then I needed the functionality of like a diaper bag with like built-in pockets and things that like parents understand. So I couldn't find that. So I created it myself. And so the launched product, and I'm hoping to iterate more, is a series of 4 different bags: a large backpack, a mini backpack, like an insulated lunchbox, and a waterproof like wristlet. And all of the pieces can connect together, but they can all be used separately. So you would never know if you had just one piece that it connects to a whole system, and you can buy it as a system. You can buy 2 of the pieces, you could buy 3 of them, you could just buy 1. And that's sort of the launch product. And it's in 3 different colors: a black, a tan, and a custom feather print. So you can go to my website, pakrev.com, PAKREVE. Rev means dream in French, and PAK is the original idea of sort of like parents and kids. But also the idea that there's all different types of families, and who your travel pack is, who you choose to travel with, varies. So you can pick the pieces that work best for your travel pack, and then obviously packing to go on a trip. So that's sort of, and then the idea of like helping you be more organized. I try to think of as many ways to keep parents' hands free to be able to like make that trip a little bit dreamier, hence the Rev, which means dream in French.
I love it. My daughter's name is Ashlyn, which in Irish means dream. So
I love it. I never knew that.
Yeah, so y'all know different ways to say dream now, or at least the name, meaning of the name. Beautiful. Next hat, journalist hat. If people want to learn more, reach out. Where should they go? Where should we send them?
I mean, you can definitely follow me on Instagram, which is just at Jordi Lippe, JordiLippe. Also follow PAK Rêve, which is at PAK Rêve. But you can also feel free to email me. My email is kind of a long email, but jordana.lippe@gmail.com. So JordanA.lippe@gmail.com.
Perfect. And we will put that in the show notes. So don't worry, guys, if you didn't catch that. Jordi, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Congratulations on absolutely everything you have accomplished, including that many travels with a child, because I've done the one other continent, and that was, I feel like, a feat I'm gonna be proud
my gosh,
of for
that
a
is
while.
a feat. So yes, hold on to that.
Yes, I am. And guys, definitely reach out to Jordi if you heard her on this show. Check out PAK Rêve, and until next time on the Pitchin' and Sippin' podcast. Hey guys, if you are enjoying the Pitchin' and Sippin' podcast, please do me a huge favor and leave a review wherever you are listening. If you want to connect with me to learn more about the PR Bar Inc., you can do so on Instagram at @thePRBar_Inc., or you can check out my website at theprbarinc.com. Cheers!